Welcome to the Four Bells. Here we are doing workout from home today, number 58. And it is a glorious leg day in the gym where we're trying to cover the front of the legs, anterior chain. We're trying to cover the back of the legs, posterior chain. I'm also trying to throw in some isometric work for the legs as well today. So before we get into all of those glorious things in the strength piece today, we're going to warm up, make sure the legs are ready. We're going to start with a squat hangout. So we're going to go over some different variations of what you can do for a squat hangout. And you should be down there for about 30 seconds. From there, we're going to try and reinforce that good squatting pattern with some goblet squats. We'll be doing those for 5 reps today. And then from there, the 3-way lunge complex. As some of our members like to say, unfortunately, not the cool kind of 3-way, a different kind of 3-way, getting the hips nice and ready. We're going to go through that complex 2 times per leg. So, with these 3 things, we're going to do these 3 things 3 times in the warm-up to get us ready for our strength piece today. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about how all of those should look. With the warm-up today, we don't need much. We need a little bit of space around us and some kind of weight to use for goblet squatting. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. If you are blessed to have a kettlebell or a dumbbell, of course use it. If you don't have any of that available, try and get creative with what you have. There is something in your house that you can use to hold on to do goblet squats with, to have a little look around and get curious. When we're starting with our squat hangouts today, it's simple. I'm just going to come down and hang out in a squat. So when I'm hanging out in my squat position, what am I really trying to look for? And what we're looking for is almost like a passive range of motion here. I'm not trying to keep a ton of tension. I'm just trying to explore what range of motion my joints will go through. So how are my ankles feeling? How are my knees feeling? How are the hips feeling? How's my thoracic spine, my upper back? Can I get into a good squat position? From here, if I need to, and I have a kettlebell, and if I have an issue with falling backwards, maybe use a weight or hold on to the edge of your coffee table or something so you can get into this deep squat position. From there, we can play around with all manner of things. You can play around with internal rotation, going from side to side. You can play around with external rotation, trying to push those knees out in what we call the prayer position. You can look at trying to rotate the thoracic spine as we go from side to side. And you can just play around with just rocking from side to side as we hang around in that squat hangout. From there, when it comes to goblet squats, all I need to do is take a weight, keep it close to my chest. So I'm trying to promote a nice vertical torso position. So that means when I descend into my squat, I'm not letting this weight pull me forwards and pull me down. Keeping my chest up nice and high, I'm going to descend into that squat, trying to get as low as possible and reinforce those squatting patterns that we just worked on with our squat hangout. Last but not least, the 3-way lunge complex. I'm going to lunge forward, so I won't necessarily worry about what leg's doing what, just focus on one leg. My left leg steps forwards, and I push back. My left leg steps back, and then I step forwards. My left leg steps across and behind into the curtsy lunge, and that's our 3-way complex. Forwards, reverse, curtsy lunge, and that's 1 time per side. We're going to do that 2 more times. So it's a 30-second squat hangout, 5 goblet squats, 3-way lunge complex, 2 times per side. We're doing that for 3 times in the warm-up today. The strength piece today is a little bit longer than they normally are. Usually we're doing approximately about 3 minutes a set, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. They're going for a lot more. So we're going to be doing 4.5-minute sets, split up into 3 90-second windows today. So we're doing each of those sets, we're going to do them 5 times, and trying to build on each time we see that movement. So that means I'm going to start with Bulgarian split squats today, sometimes known as the rear foot elevated split squat. We're going to do 6 reps per leg. And we're going to talk about how to do those at body weight if stability and balance is an issue for you. And if stability and balance isn't an issue, how can I add weight to the situation? From there, in my next 90 seconds, some kind of hamstring curl. So it's notoriously hard to train the posterior chain with just body weight with limited equipment available. It's one of those pesky things that's tough to do. But we're going to give you some options of how to do hamstring curls today at home, which we're doing for 15 reps. And then last but not least, everyone can do this. You have a wall wherever you are. Even if you want to, come to the gym when the gym is closed, use the wall outside, and you can do some wall sits today. So we're going to be doing Bulgarian split squats for 6 squats, 6 reps per leg. From there, hamstring curls for 15 reps total. And from our wall sit today, we're doing 45 seconds of of that wall, sit, hold. So let's talk about how all three of these should look. The Bulgarian split squat is the first part of our strength piece today, also sometimes known as the rear foot elevated split squat. It's quite simple. You're in split squat position with the rear foot elevated. Sounds very fancy, but all it means is when we've got the one foot behind us, is it gets us into a deeper position of hip flexion and extension, which means essentially what we're trying to do is get into like a split position with the legs whilst we're standing on one leg and whilst we're also trying to develop some attributes of strength. The hard part for a lot of people is the setup. So in terms of the height of my rear foot, it really depends on what we have available, but it doesn't want to be excessively high. This is a good height for me, and it's kind of just below my kneecap. You may find you have to go a little bit lower depending on how mobile your hips are. So when I'm setting up, how do I get set up? There's a few ways to do it. Some people like to set up from the floor and get comfortable from that position. I've been using this method forever now, and it works very well for me. And it's essentially 3 foot lengths. So I've got 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet lengths away, and I reach back, and usually my toe is right there on the bench. Make sure that whatever I'm using has a relatively soft edge. You don't want a sharp edge of something driving into your foot. As I'm doing my Bulgarian split squats, torso stays upright. I'm going to push the knee back as I descend down, trying to stretch out those hips as much as possible. I then drive back up off the lead leg. If balance and stability is super easy for you, you can add some weight, and I'd probably say add it to the diagonally opposite side. So if I'm standing on my right leg, hold it on my left side, and I can add some weight to my Bulgarian split squats. And if you can touch your knee to the floor, happy days. And if you can't, and your hips are very tight, just go as low as you can with good postural position. Hamstring curls are probably going to be the hardest thing logistically to set up for you today. So if you are blessed with a TRX, or even a pair of rings, or a strap that you can hang over a door, you can put your heels into it, and you can do hamstring curls quite easily. If you, like everybody else at some point in their life, bought a Swiss ball, this is the time to use it. And if you don't have a Swiss ball available, you could even use a pair of fluffy socks on a shiny floor, or maybe if you've even got furniture sliders, you can put your feet on furniture sliders on carpet, and that would work very well too. So of course, rather than go through the millions of different options, and there are tons out there, and of course, if you're in the gym, send us a message on Slack and we'll guide you. And if you aren't in the gym, comment in the comment box below, and we will show you how to approach hamstring curls at home, even with very little equipment. So, with one of these guys, there's only, there's only really one important thing to remember when doing hamstring curls, particularly if we're facing up to the ceiling, we are supine. All the thing I'm trying to work out here is trying to make sure that my hips don't sag too much. I am trying to bridge up so that my hips are high. I'm going to drive my elbows into the floor so I've got a nice stable base. And I'm going to curl my heels in to my butt and then come back out to a straight leg. Curl the heel into the butt. But what I'm trying to avoid is the hips sagging down. I'm trying to keep the hips up the entire time. And that is arguably the hardest part of doing hamstring curls at home. So try and stay in that almost inverted plank position. Keep the hips high, squeeze the butt, and try and pull the heels in as close to your bottom as possible. Enjoy! The conditioning piece today, a 12-minute AMRAP, 720 seconds of pure joy. We get to look at squatting mechanics in the form of a goblet squat, almost like we practiced it in the warm-up. From there, we get to look at some more posterior chain work in the form of kettlebell swings. And then from there, we're going to look at some aerobic or cardiovascular stuff that we're going to throw into the mix in our 12-minute AMRAP. So when we're doing our goblet squats and kettlebell swings today, I would invariably say, depending on like the general population of our gym, everyone is usually stronger at hinging than they are at squatting. What does that mean? That means in the gym, we usually find people's deadlifts are a lot heavier than their squats, and that's just because really we're generalists and we spend a lot more time picking stuff up than we do squatting with it. That's just part of the nature of being a human. So what I would say today is what you can do if you have the resources available is you can use the same kettlebell to do your goblet squat as you can to do your kettlebell swing, if you have that available. And of course if you don't, then we can talk about some options of what you can do instead. So 10 goblet squats, immediately into 20 kettlebell swings. When it comes to our cardiovascular option, again, what do I have available? Is it a nice day outside? Can I go and run 200 meters? Maybe I can go to the end of my street and back. Maybe I am blessed to have a rowing machine or a ski erg in my basement. I could do 200 meters. Maybe I could do 20 calories. If I'm on a bike, maybe I should double that, so I should be doing 400 meters. And if I don't have any of that available, I could be doing 50 jumping jacks or maybe 50 turns of a rope. Either way, it should take roughly about 45-ish seconds. We shouldn't be taking too long on this aerobic piece. So that's our 12-minute AMRAP. Let's talk about the exercises: goblet squats, kettlebell swings, some kind of aerobic stuff. You don't need much to get today's conditioning piece done. In an ideal world, we just need one challenging kettlebell. So challenging is obviously a subjective thing. Depending on where you are with your strength endeavors, a lighter kettlebell might be better for you. If you've been training for a long time, maybe a big, heavy, scary kettlebell is best for you. And of course, if you don't have a kettlebell available, we can still do these movements even with dumbbells, maybe with bands. There's a possibility of what we can do. And again, if you're not sure what to do, send us a message. We are very happy to help you. So, with our 12-minute AMRAP, we are cycling through 3 things. I'm going to do 10 goblet squats. From there, 20 kettlebell swings, and from there into approximately 45 seconds of some kind of cardiovascular work. So when it comes to goblet squats, just like the warm-up, I'm trying to promote that nice vertical torso position, keeping my chest high, abs tight. We're going to push the knees out a little as we descend as low as we can into our squat, and from there, standing back up. Once I've done 10 reps, I can go straight into my kettlebell swing if I want to, which means hips back, snap forwards. We should have glutes engaged, quads engaged, and abs engaged. 20 swings. And from there, last but not least, am I blessed to have a rowing machine? Maybe I'm going to do 200 meters. Maybe I'm going to do 20 calories if I don't have a rowing machine. Maybe I have an Airdyne bike. If I'm on a Concept 2 bike, which some of our members have, I probably double that and do 400 meters. And if I'm maybe doing jumping jacks or I'm turning a rope, I would say about 50 reps is perfectly fine. Again, something that takes around 45 seconds, we shouldn't be on that machine or that cardio option too long. 10 goblet squats, 20 kettlebell swings, 200 meters-ish. We're going to do that for 12 minutes. Have fun, let us know how you get on, and happy workout from home, number 58.